You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
Scattered
from the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles. Here's Eddie Garcia.
In Major League Baseball games of note, the Astros beat the A's 8-1, while the Mariners fall to the Angels 2-1. Seattle gets swept in that 3-game series. They're 1-5 since the All-Star break, and Houston has now overtaken them for first place in the AL West by 1 game. Mets take down the Yankees 12-3. Francisco Lindor hit a pair of homers, drove in 5 for the Mets as they move into the number 2 wildcard spot in the National League. Yankees are 0-4 against the Mets this season, but they're still the number 1 wildcard team in the American League. And the Yankees are still just a game and a half back of Baltimore in the AL East because the Orioles lost to the Marlins 6-3. Dodgers 5-game winning streak was snapped. The NL West leaders fall to the Giants 8-3. Twins walk off with a 5-4 win over the Phillies. Minnesota took 2 of 3 from the top team in baseball, Philadelphia. Minnesota has the number 2 wildcard spot in the American League. Brewers, the NL Central leaders, beat the Cubs 3-2 to improve to 4-1 since the All-Star break. Guardians on top in the AL Central edge the Tigers 2-1.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to pick it, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama Sports Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. We'd like to invite you to get in on the conversation at 205-342-9904. That's the hotline. And you can also comment, react, ask your questions via the chat feature on social media. So either way, we want to bring you into the conversation. It is the Sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team. So let's get up and at 'em with it this morning. I want to remind you that you can get the officially licensed Martin Houston Alabama Legacy Collection and more, whether it be the collage or whether it be the official jersey, the caps, so on and so forth. They got Make Fullbacks Great Again, MFGA gear, but most proud of the Legacy gear. So go ahead and get yours today by going to athletesthread.com/collections/Martin-Houston, and encourage you to tell your friends about that cool gear that's available for them. Share the link, share it with family and friends. So remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Normally X would be with us with a lot of recruiting. But he's not going to be on with us today. We're going to have his segment to tomorrow, move it to tomorrow. And part of the reason X is his job is directly related to college students, Chase. And so these last few weeks have been kind of chaotic, and yeah. So it's it'll be slowing down for him, I think, once school is officially back in. But until then, we'll talk about it. So I'll talk about some SEC, all SEC players. I'll talk about the news regarding the scholarship numbers. Big news. I think a lot of coaches are happy with that. But interestingly, with this move, college football have done things that's hurting the kid who's not quite good enough to play at the university and junior college players over the last few years. Now the question is, will this move now help junior college players? And it'll be the marginal high school players that are directly impacted. So we'll talk about that as well. And then, of course, I had a poll question up about which defensive lineman is going to have a breakout season, like a Quinnen Williams did. So we'll talk about that as a part of the conversation, and we invite you to get in on it this beautiful morning. So, but I think we have a caller. Pat, you're in with us this morning. I'm sure you want to talk recruiting, but I'll suffice till X is back with us full time. What you got for us?
Man, hey, good morning, Martin. How big is it that Caleb is not going to Stray Cat Weekend? Stray Cat Weekend. We need to coin that phrase, Martin, and put it on a T-shirt, man.
If you're not familiar, Caleb Cunningham on yesterday, Alabama's 5-star wide receiver out of Mississippi, canceled his visit to Big Cat or Little Cat or Medium Cat or Stray Cat, whatever your term you want to call it, weekend down at Auburn. So it'll be interesting to see what happened. Is he coming to this weekend, though? Is he coming to Alabama's barbecue?
That's what I'm hearing.
So that's
what I'm hearing.
Which, even if he's not, is still a big deal that he canceled going down to Auburn. So, so either way, it's a win for this coaching staff once again.
Yes, sir. And and I understand that Smith has also canceled his weekend down with the Stray Cats. But Martin, this thing that Caleb DeVore is doing as far as recruiting is absolutely phenomenal. That you can't say enough about that. He's, like I said, but you got to look at it. Coach Saban, I really, really think that Coach Saban is, also earning that big paycheck we're giving him for staying in his office at Alabama. Do you not agree?
Repeat that now. What was the last part? What you said?
I said, I really think that Coach Saban, along with the recruiting aspect, is also earning that big check we're paying him to sit in his office there at Alabama.
I don't know. I can't give Coach Saban credit till I hear something he's done directly. But I mean, just him being out, I don't know that he's doing anything directly for Alabama. Maybe the conversation with the coaches and giving Caleb and Kalen direction. But I think this is 100% these coaches, man, that's on this staff, Pat. He may be opening some doors that they would not have known to open. But what do you think Saban's biggest asset would have been to Kalen DeBoer and his staff? What do you think it would have been?
That, hey, teaching him the process.
What process? He has his own process, by the way. I just want you to know that. But what process
I thoroughly agree with that. Hey, but Coach Saban has things that other people do not have, and adding on to what Kalen brings to the table. And I think it's all meshing together very nicely. And that, because Coach Saban had a lot of relationships too, you understand?
That's what it is, Pat. I don't think Kalen DeBoer, from a process standpoint, was lacking a whole lot. When a man is 104-12, he probably has a pretty good idea of what he's doing. But I do think that they were lacking in relationships, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Correct. Yeah. So let me tell you what happened, Pat. Saban may have had to introduce him early on. Maybe get into some gaps. Into some places. But once these coaches started meeting this coaching staff, the high school coaches, they were in. You know that the coaching is a fraternity, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
And these guys are so down to earth, man. Everybody that talks about this coaching staff talks about relationships. That's all they talk about. Man, these guys are so relational. These guys so relational. You ever heard anybody say that about Saban?
No. But Martin, you got to understand, doesn't Coach Shepard have big time ties to Alabama? I think most of his family is down.
Down the road.
Go ahead. He's in driving distance to eat Sunday dinner.
Yeah. Curtis Moore II said, Pat, he's talking to you, Pat. He listened to you down in Florida, and he said, Pat, I think it's Courtney Morgan and his coaching staff, not directly Saban when it comes to this cold summer recruiting. So it doesn't hurt to. It doesn't hurt to have. It doesn't hurt to have Saban on the staff. So I'm not. Don't hear me saying that. But I want to be careful not to give too much credit and take anything away from this staff. Pat, let me ask you this, and I'll let you get. When we hired DeBoer, there was one thing I had zero question about, was his ability to coach. Zero. I don't care if you play at the high school level, D3 level, D2, D1, whatever. If you are 104-12, you can coach. Okay? You're right? Or you can just flat out recruit everybody. Well, we didn't think it was recruiting because of the places he had been. Right? So it has to be that he can coach and he can develop. I said those two things. And I said, if he can recruit top 5 to top 10 talent, top 10 is all I was looking for, then Alabama has a legit chance to keep this thing rolling. Those were my comments. Pat, he's recruiting at the same level. Not close. It's the same level. So if he's a better coach, X's and O's. Saban never claimed to be the greatest X's and O guy. Never. Really good defensive back coach, but overall, X's and O never claimed to be that. So now we have the offensive version of him. And now we have the recruiting version of him. And we have a better coaching staff than we've had the last few years. This coaching staff reminds me of the guys that Saban had between like 2009 and like 2000 and like 13 or 14, something like that, 15, 16, 17, right in there, right? So I got you ready to get out here. Go ahead real quick. I'll let you respond.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say, hey, with what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%, hey, we're going to need Weldon shades crimson colored.
Yeah, we're we're going to definitely need something, Pat, because it's looking awful bright in Tuscaloosa. So,
hey,
all right,
have
baby.
a blessed day.
Have a great one, Pat. We'll be back on the other side to keep the conversation rolling right here on the Martin Houston Show. No X today, but if you want to talk recruiting, we can talk recruiting. I do my best. But we're going to get to some of the other conversations. Scholarships. Wow. From 85 to 105 in football. Also, other sports get scholarships. One sport in Alabama on this campus that very well may get to the World Series. Now, you know what I'm talking about. Is it softball? Is it baseball? Why do I say that? You have to come back on the other side to find out why.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We're beginning the morning with a police activity that's occurring along Skyland Boulevard at Hargrove. Right now the activity is all on the right shoulder of the road. No lanes blocked, but you've got about 4 or 5 police units on the scene with lights going. So there's a lot starting to...
Or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
The sky occasionally cloudy today and tonight. A few passing showers and thunderstorms are likely. The high today 84, tonight's low 71. For tomorrow, a mixture of clouds and sunshine with scattered to numerous showers and thunderstorms. The high 87. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show. Your team. The Martin Houston Show. On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9. And streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Back into the Martin Houston Show on a Thursday edition of the program. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Want to encourage you to go check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They do things the right way each and every day. So go check them out. That's Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. 50 years plus just doing it the right way, as good now as they've ever been. So that's Taco Casa. And listen, man, I don't drink as much sweet tea as I used to, but if I get a craving for sweet tea over some shaved ice, I'm going to Taco Casa. Still the best in T-Town, best around West Alabama, one up in Birmingham off Lakeshore Drive. Taco Casa, tacocasa.com. All right. Before we got a couple callers that's coming in, and we'll get to this, and this may be our OT conversation, but Chase, you there with me? All right. We'll get Chase back with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you. There you go. Chase, we talk a lot about the scholarship limitations in football is going from 85 to 105. But that's the way it's coming out, Chase, is that's going to be the roster limitation, okay? Right now they bring in 105 when they start fall camp. Then I think they bring in a few others. I'm not sure how they're going to do this now. I'm not sure if, you'd end up with about 140 kids out there. The question that I haven't got an answer on yet, Chase, is will they cut it off at 105, meaning that you can have 105 scholarship players and no walk-ons? Because that's good if you can get to 105. It's not bad if that's where you have to stop the rotation. That's not good. And I'll explain why. May have to keep that to overtime. But here's the question I have for you. If you're Coach Vaughn in baseball, have you heard what they're getting in baseball?
No, please tell me.
Right now, baseball has 30-some something players at least, right? Because you have to have about 20 guys just to have a bullpen, a starting rotation and a bullpen.
Right.
They're going from 11.7 to 34 is what one of the numbers is. 11.7 to 34.
Wow.
Okay. If you can recruit in baseball now, see the reason Alabama couldn't get some of these guys, Alabama, Chase, before you got here, I think lost Mr. Alabama to Mississippi to school in Mississippi, I think 2 or 3 years in a row. And like 4 out of 5, it was crazy. The best player didn't go to the in-state school. Why? You go to Mississippi State, less tuition, and they don't charge out a state fee. Or they would go to Louisiana, where they got the Hope Scholarship, full ride. You can go to Tennessee, where they have a lottery, full ride. Georgia, full ride. Florida, full ride. Alabama and Auburn have had to try to compete with those guys with 11.7 scholarships spread out over their whole roster. Now, that evens the playing field because he can now go out and get 34 scholarship guys, or he can go out and get 28 full scholarship guys and take the other 6 and get some other guys. You see what I'm saying? So it is a game changer. We'll talk more about that, but I'm telling you, he is probably so excited because now he can convince some of those kids he used to recruit up north to come play down south because he can take care of them. And that's going to be a game changer for them. I mean, I'm going to talk more about that later. And there's several others. Let me get to these numbers real quick, and then we'll get back to the phone lines. Basketball, listen to this. Listen to this. Nate Oates will get to add 2 more guys. They go from 13 to 15. Men basketball goes to 13 to 15. Softball will add 13 scholarships and go from 12 to 25. So what's the name? Bama softball has the same thing that, had. The baseball team. And volleyball increases from 12 to 18. So it's a game changer for the smaller schools. But here's the question, Chase, and I'll let you respond. How are they going to pay for this?
I was thinking the same thing.
Who's going to pay for this? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's great. Will they have to use that? Will they say will there be a caveat that says yes, but you'll have to take that 20-point-something million to pay for it?
And would they be willing to use that?
Huh?
And would they be willing to use that $20 million? That's the question.
Well, the question is, you don't have to have that many scholarships, but you can get that many, right? So now, did the NCAA in some ways say, oh, we're going to give you that money, but you're going to use that money for not just paying players, but to bring more kids to college? I don't know. I don't know how they pay for it, but maybe that's how. If you get a $20 million infusion into your program every year, I guess you can afford to pay for more scholarships. So we'll talk more about it. Right on the Martin Houston Show. But Allen, you've been patient. You're in on the Martin Houston Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, good morning. Martin, I sent you a text. I don't know if you saw it this morning, but I sent you a text about what Lincoln Riley said. Okay. I got something else to say, but I want your opinion of that first. I'm going to give you mine.
Yeah, let me read what it said.
Okay.
Lincoln Riley of USC said Alabama was ahead of the curve for years. They didn't schedule for their fans. They scheduled to win championships. That's Lincoln Riley on scheduling for 12-team playoffs. I didn't get to hear his context of that, but just not knowing the full context of it, I think part of what he's talking about is Alabama starting the season off with big guys and big games and different things like that, and having key games that way. But I also think that he may be talking about learning how to mix in some of these smaller schools to give your guys breaks throughout the season, even when you don't have a bye week. So, and some Alabama fans don't like that. Some fans don't like that. I've always been a fan of having those types of games for a couple reasons. One, Alan, is that it's a chance for guys for you to get the other guys in. The guys who think about how Saban has placed them out, Alan. He'd have an easy one up front, easy one in the middle, easy one down the stretch, right? And he was also paying his buddies. I don't know if you know that. Some of those were like friends at smaller schools, and he was helping them fulfill their budget. But
definitely, yeah.
The guy who comes out who's a superstar in high school is 2 or 3 games in and he's not played. All of a sudden, you throw him in there, he's like, woo, and mom and daddy can talk to him, he can be happy, all his friends see him play, then boom, he's back on the sideline. About halfway through the season, 3/4 way through the season, he start feeling it again, right? Boom, you got another game you can do it in. Then it's down the stretch, your team's talking about championships, and he's always been the dude, and he's not playing, then all of a sudden, bam, right before the Auburn game, he gets another little dose of it. Boom. Then you get to the playoffs, boom, and now you can play him and stuff like that. So I think that may be part of it as well. What's your thoughts?
That was
I didn't hear the
my
context,
thoughts. I didn't hear the context. Somebody just sent that to me last night. And that was my thinking, too, that he always plays a hard game at the beginning. If it's Florida State, Miami, or, you don't never know what team that's how good they're going to be, because those games are scheduled out years and years in advance. So you really don't know how good they're going to be until that particular year. But
Alan, let me say this.
That's what he was doing.
But the reason he did that was if you have Miami or Florida State or Clemson or any of these big non-conference helmet games is what I call them, you don't want to be embarrassed and start your season off wrong. So guess what it makes you do all off season? It makes you focus. You're working like you work hard because you know that first game, and you get into what? You get what? When are you guaranteed to have a championship type of atmosphere and pressure? First game of the season? Last game of the season if you're playing for something? And then the SEC so it was a way I think that drove the off season and it drove big game experience. So you didn't go to Dallas in the Cotton Bowl, or you didn't go to the Dome in Atlanta and be all goo-goo-eyed. So.
Right. I agree. So. And my other thing I want to ask you about.
And the other part was recruiting. The other part he's scheduled for recruiting.
The other thing I want to ask was this. We see, I think that Coach DeBoer is doing a better job at recruiting than Coach Saban is. And why I say that is this. We saw when he came in, everybody departed. I mean, it's like the Red Sea. Everybody just left, like they left, But he had to come in and sell his stuff to this team. I mean, he had to sell his philosophy. He had to sell everything. He had to fight with NIL. He had to fight with Coach Saban, the ghost of Coach Saban. And then he brought it in and brought his own brand into it. And he had to sell himself. And not only did he not fall off, he raised the bar. I mean, he just actually raised the bar. And I think he did a heck of a job for somebody that never coached in the SEC, no ties to the SEC, and not even coached a down in the SEC. And he's out doing that Cal College on the other end of the state, and that other team with them little dogs over in Georgia. I think he's doing a heck of a job for somebody that's never officially been into the SEC before.
Right. And where did he nail it at? First of all, I told Pat, he has his own process. He said that his biggest strength, go back and listen to his interview, his opening comments. He said his biggest strength is organization. He just hadn't used the word process. But he is uber organized, okay? That's number one. Number two is he got guys, he got coaches that knew the South. Like Coach Shepard's folks is from Uniontown. I don't know if you knew that. Down the road, Tuscaloosa. Yeah. So you have that. Then he went out and got linebacker coach from Baylor that had recruited the South. Then he got a coach that had recruited, in Auburn. I mean, it's just, he spread it out so well that he covered. They have the West Coast covered, right? And we've locked up some West Coast. We're getting the West Coast guys and we're getting the Southern guys. So, and I don't know, I have to let you go after this. Did you hear what Hugh Freeze said his recruiting philosophy is going to be? And it may work. He said he's going to recruit the state of Alabama and bordering states. That's his philosophy. He said he don't see himself getting on planes and flying all over the country. That's not him. And I'm assuming if he doesn't do it, his staff isn't doing it. The problem with that is he is going to be competing when it's a 5-star. He's going to be competing against Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, LSU. You see what I'm saying? Like Tennessee. If it's a kid in Tennessee, he's going to have to take a kid from Tennessee. If Tennessee's the only one recruiting him, he's going to have to beat Tennessee. He goes to Georgia, he has to beat Georgia. If he goes to Florida, he has to beat Florida, FSU, Miami. And then he goes to LSU, Louisiana has to be LSU. If he goes to Texas, Texas is not border state. If he goes to Mississippi, he has to beat Mississippi State, Ole Miss. That's if only the state schools recruited. But if there's a kid good in Mississippi, Alabama's on him, Auburn on him, they're on him, Tennessee's on him, and the same thing for a kid in all the other states. So you can't miss. You can't miss if you're going to limit yourself to 4 or 5 states when you look at the sheer number of talent that it takes to get to the national championship level. He's not going to have enough players unless he wins on all of them. So that's my thoughts there. All right. You got anything else before I let you go, Alan?
No, that's it. You have a good one.
I appreciate that. Coming back on the other side, we'll get Philip in. You can get in on the conversation as well when you join us on the hotline at 205-342-9904 or add your thoughts, comments, and reactions on the chat. Listen, it's the Sound of Alabama Sports, your show, your team. We got scholarship conversation. We have all SEC conversation.
My soulmate. The scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
This report is sponsored by Bank of America.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Hey, don't forget we have some great sponsorship opportunities available as we roll into the football season. We have opportunities on the Martin Houston Show. I'll also be hosting a West Alabama High School pigskin preview show. So go check it out. It'll be on Thursday nights at 6 o'clock. So we definitely would love to have you be a part of both programs. So that's the Martin Houston Show and the West Alabama High School pigskin preview, where we'll feature local high school coaches as well as some players. Will have some other features, game of the week, offensive player of the week segments you can sponsor. You can be the title sponsor as well. And then, of course, if you get the high school show, it'll be a combo deal with my show. You'll be on both of those. So great opportunity to partner So if you know somebody that loves high school sports, want to support high school sports around West Alabama, tell them about the Pigskin Preview. We'll focus on teams from Tuscaloosa County, Pickens County, Fayette County, Hale County, and Bibb County. So I think we'll have just about everybody in the AHSAA division. If you have any questions or you want to send me some information, Martin@martinhouston.org. That's Martin@martinhouston.org. All right, let's get to Philip. Philip, you're in on the hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin, good morning. We were talking a few weeks ago, maybe about 10 days ago. You let me call in, and we were talking about recruiting philosophies, the Saban staff versus this staff, and I made the statement that Saban's philosophy was, please take your visits. We want you to be sure, please, do that so that you'll be educated on what you want to do and all this, that, and the other. And whether that's true or not, that was a philosophy that we got to read about from time to time. All right, and my statement was, I think DeBoer's philosophy is, we don't understand why you want to take another visit. And what did Cunningham do?
Cancel his visit.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think it's two. I think it's a couple things. One is that let me see if I can say this the right way. One is that Saban wanted to see you in a camp. Okay, he wanted to see you physically in a camp, right?
Right.
And that's fine. Which means that he didn't. He was recruiting and evaluating talent before the talent scouts got really good, right? Like before Rivals and Scout and 247 and all of them got really good, Philip. Saban was doing this, right? At the NFL level and at the college level. Now, by the time he was at the college level, they were starting to get pretty good. But you couldn't always trust those guys, right?
Right.
Well, they've gotten better. They've gotten better at evaluating talent, right? Why? One of the things, especially on skill positions, is that they actually go out and see these kids. And if they get to the point where they can assess pretty good, then seeing them in person is important. Courtney Morgan, DeBoer, and those guys grew up in a time where what? These scouts were pretty good, right? So they don't make as big a deal about seeing them in person as Saban did. So they allow the guys to commit. Where Saban sometimes would have a guy and wouldn't allow them to commit. Well, Philip, you remember the days when you used to date?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's a girl you liked and she liked you, but you didn't commit to her fully, which didn't allow her to commit to you fully, what could happen?
You wouldn't be dating anymore.
You could be dating, but her options are still open, right?
Oh, yeah.
So the right guy could come in, swoop in, and what? Have a little better offer. Huh? He may look a little bit more attractive than you. Boom. So a guy but she liked you, but you wouldn't commit to her. Mm-hmm. So she never fully committed to you.
Yeah.
And then you lose it. What happens if you commit to her and she commits to you? At that point, she'll a lot of times what? Especially if she really likes you, she'll take the other ones off the table. Now that don't mean the other ones won't keep calling. That don't mean that don't mean that you won't do something stupid down the road, and then that other one that kept calling won't look more attractive. But she wasn't necessarily looking. They were looking. And that's what, and I know this sounds crazy, but that's what DeBoer's doing. He's going, we're committed to you. We want you. You can commit now. And some of it is, hey, if it's just like you would say, hey, baby, if it's me and you, it's me and you, not me, you, and possibly. The other side, though, is just like she would take them off the table. These recruits are going, man, I'm going to Alabama. Why am I looking somewhere else? I've been being recruited since I was in the 9th grade. I've been all of these places. It's not like when I came along where I got to, my first time in Tuscaloosa was on my official visit. And I committed, and I canceled all my other visits. Right? So.
That's right.
So that, I think that it's as much about, he believes in the evaluation process more than Saban possibly did. They're seeing these guys, they have so much more high school film than what they used to be. Saban still had that NFL, combine mentality. These coaches believe in that, and then they're allowing them to commit. So I think that's as much of it as anything. Anything else you got?
Martin, you got me thinking, what now is the equivalent of a Dear John letter?
I don't know. They make up, break up, and hook up on via text. So I have no idea.
I guess it's a dear tweet. Dear tweet. Dear, yeah. Well, anyway, you got my mind on other things, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Hey, coming back on the other side, we're going to put the finishing touches on the first hour of the Martin Houston Show. We will have a little OT today. It's been fun. Like I said, I love it. We have some comments over on chat. I'll see if any of those need to be brought into the conversation based on what we've had. You can get in on the conversation as well. As we go to break here, I want to remind you about Harvest Church. Harvest Church, love God, love people. That's our plan and our purpose. And we do it as good as anybody. Hopefully a bunch of churches are doing it at an extremely high level. But we pride ourselves on loving God and loving people. Come check us out on Wednesday nights at 6:00 for a meal. And then followed up at 6:30 with a message. And then on Sundays, small group at 9 a.m. I teach an overflow class that starts around 9:15. Just walk into the sanctuary, have a seat, and you're welcome. And then we have worship and the word at 10. Love to have you. That's Harvest Church, hctuscaloosa.com, HC Tuscaloosa on Facebook and YouTube if you can't join us in person. We'll be back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. No big problems on 2059 for those of you making the trip between Foster's and Cottondale. The drive on Lurling Wallace from Northport across the Hugh Thomas Bridge down to University. You're moving nicely there as well. We're still seeing a number of police units on scene of a police activity that's been there since early this morning. This is going to be at Skyland Boulevard and Hargrove. They are on the right shoulder, though. No lanes blocked. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Thursday morning. The proposed FY25 Alabama Department of Mental Health budget includes money for staff and support services at Tuscaloosa's Taylor Hardin Secure Medical Facility. Improvements at Taylor Hardin are necessary to meet a settlement agreement with the Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program. That line item for Taylor Hardin, $18,239,000+. The overall agency budget request amounts to more than $237 million. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to feature Rodney Orr. We're going to talk about the big cookout that's expected on the campus of the University of Alabama this weekend. Which recruits are in, which ones are out. We'll talk about it with Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. All starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa.
or Town Square Media Tuscaloosa radio websites. Fill out the ad Advertise here for them. Put the power of Town Square Media to work for your business.
Keep it locked into Tide 100.9 for more of the Martin Houston Show with Martin Houston and X's and O's Sports, Xavier Houston.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. We're live, local, ready to get things rolling. Want to remind you, actually introduce you to a new sponsor that'll be joining us. Going to go ahead and give him a little tease. He'll be joining us in August full time. And if you got timberland in West Alabama, North River Timber Company has you covered. Since 2011, Courtney White, a registered forester with the state of Alabama, and his expert team have been managing timberland and harvesting timberland across 4 Alabama counties and growing, offering comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment go unrealized. Call North River Timber Company today and unlock the true potential of your land. Email them at northrivertimberco@gmail.com or call 205-242-5127. 205-242-5127. That's North River Timber Company. They'll be joining our lineup and roster of sponsorships. So looking forward to having them on full time with us. And you can join us by emailing Mark and Martin Houston to find out your options as well. All right. Chase, we were talking about the scholarships. So since we started that conversation, we'll go ahead and circle back on that conversation regarding the scholarships. It's exciting that the NCAA is doing that. But, at the coaches meeting, they were talking about cutting it back and limiting it to 85. So, not sure exactly what happened there. But, like it, love it, hate it in terms of the NCAA bumping up the scholarships.
I don't know how to feel about it. I'm kind of like in the middle. I don't know. A part of me feels good about it, getting, more players the opportunity. But there's going to be some strife between coaches, universities, like the NCAA. It's going to be, we need a happy marriage here. We're NIL is good. People are watching college football at its highest right now. We need to keep the train going. And I hope this is kind of the right direction we're going in the terms of college football and in the future,
Yeah. And here's the thing. Like I said, I'm trying to get a full-fledged understanding of this, but, beginning in 2025, in the Tuesday, Dillinger reports, Power Conference Commissioner finalized new roster size limits that pave the way for athletic departments to distribute millions of dollars in new scholarships to athletes. Beginning in 2025-2026, by sports scholarship rules will be eliminated, allowing teams to offer scholarships to the entirety of their roster following house settlement terms. Okay, so I think it is in relationship to them having additional money. So maybe the additional scholarships are going to be paid for by the additional money that's going to be coming into the program. And instead of the program just getting this extra money, it's going to allow them to use it on scholarships. Football will increase 20 scholarships from 85 to 105. Okay. Schools will not have to be at the 105 limit until the season starts, which means teams will be able to carry more players in preseason. Let that sink in. Let me read that again to you. Schools will not have to be at the 105 limit until the season starts, which means teams will be able to carry more players in preseason camp. You understand what that's saying?
Yes, I am.
Does that mean kids going to get cut? I mean, that means that they can bring in 140 or 120 or whatever, but they have to be down to 105 for the official roster. I'm assuming you can have additional. I know they're not going to have these kids come practice and then tell them you didn't make the team and then they're out of there because there's expense and all that stuff. So I'm making an assumption. He didn't give enough detail here. Making an assumption, and we'll dig into it more, Chase, that what they're going to do is they're going to have them. They can bring all these guys in, but the roster, which means guys who would be able to travel to non-conference games and things like that, is going to go up. Will be 105. As far as your practices and preseason and all of that, you don't have to name who those guys are. Okay, that's what that appears to be saying. We'll find out more. Baseball receives an influx of one from 11.7 to 34. Never knew what 0.7 meant. 13 to 15 in basketball. Softball 13 to softball will add 13 scholarships going to 12.25. Volleyball will increase to 18. I don't know if other sports get more scholarships or not. Doesn't say that. Here's one of the caveats. School will not be forced to give the full scholarship numbers as Dillinger reports. This allows each school to offer grants, leave walk-on opportunities, as well as partial scholarships. So, Coach has 85 scholarships, but he didn't have to use all 85. He can technically offer 85 and then use the rest for walk-on, et cetera. But I think if they don't allow you to go above that 80, the 105 with walk-on, then you're going to see the walk-on kind of go by the wayside. And then that extra 20, 85 to 105, they'll go back and keep getting high school kids that are elite. And then you're going to see junior college guys. Chase, have you ever heard why Coach Bryant was able to beat teams back when he was dominant?
No, tell me.
He had unlimited scholarships.
There you go.
He would offer guys, he would have 105 guys on scholarship. He would offer guys, there would be 13 guys here, just so they wouldn't go be first team guys at Auburn. Do you not think that's going to happen here? If Georgia offers you and your player number 89, 90 on scholarship, do you go to Georgia or Alabama or do you go to Vanderbilt? Because now some of these guys who are going to these other places, the reason they're not at Alabama is because Alabama had a scholarship limit.
Yeah.
A roster limit. So I think you're going to see, I think this is another way that's going to separate the haves from the have-nots. Hey, you've been listening to the Martin Houston Show. We had a great show lined up for you today. You guys did a great job of taking the topics in different directions, and we kind of rolled with it. We'll keep the scholarship conversation to the OT, and I'm going to talk about the defensive linemen that you voted on. So if you voted on that, jump over to the Facebook page. I'll give you my thoughts on who I think is going to be the guy with the breakout year. That'll be in the OT. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. I'm Martin Houston. That's Chase. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, chatters for being a part of the program. We do it every day, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 7 with a little OT on the Facebook. We'll be back on the other side in just a